We are here to bring you everything and anything surrounding Porsche. I'm Mike.
I'm Aaron.
And this is Pcar Talk. Hey, welcome to another episode of Pcar Talk. I'm Mike.
And I'm Aaron.
And we're back in the studio. So today we're going to talk a little about 2021 4.0 Boxster GTS and Cayman. I'm going to talk a little bit about some standard equipment that's coming new on the 2021 cars. Talk about Fahren a little bit. Talk about, add-on equipment upgrades with Porsche. Mm-hmm. And then Falken's getting back into racing with Porsche. I mean, they haven't left racing, but they're going to be racing Porsches again. So that's kind of interesting. So got a good show for you guys. Thanks for joining us as always. Yeah. Don't forget to subscribe, all those things that helps us out a ton, and also spread the word, right?
Yeah. So we were talking today and people were like, yeah, we go to your meetup.
Yeah.
You guys do a podcast?
I was like, oh, you guys do a podcast? I'm like, oh my God. Like, choke yourself. Not with my hand, asshole. Choke yourself. So for all you young people out there, that's a reference to an old military movie, right?
Yep.
So you guys don't figure it out. But let's get rolling. 2021 Boxster GTS and Cayman 4.0, 394 horsepower, 300 foot-pounds of torque. I think the incredible part about this is price starting at $90,000.
Okay.
Love this or hate this because this is essentially a detuned GT Cayman and Speedster, essentially.
It's the exact same motor, or it's
that
really close.
That hasn't been shared to the engineering degree that you would expect. However, just be reading between the lines between it's a 4-liter motor. Is Porsche really going to make two different 4-liter motors just for that line of car when they already have a GT car? I'm not saying it's not impossible, but I'm saying, again, we've talked about this in the past where they're trying to align the models alone in each class where they have a standard basically fitment for each one from GTS to GT car. Like they're trying to standardize each car with an option of like levels of car that you can buy within that brand. So
and if they're doing a Spider with that with the GT motor, and why would they do a GTS in that motor? That's a good point.
I mean, let's get to the point. Like Porsche is also still a company that needs to make money. Let's not forget that. Granted, they are a racing enthusiast company. However, and I'm not confirming this or denying this, I'm just what we know about the industry and how these things operate. The likelihood of this being a totally separate blueprinted engine is pretty low.
Yeah.
So essentially I'm thinking this is all tunage. I mean, because think about it this way. So you have the new GT4 is 414 horsepower from the 4-liter. This is 394. This goes back to past Porsche where my car, prime example, 996 Turbo S. Same setup as a GT2.
Yeah, just a little different.
But it says it's only 444 horsepower.
Yeah.
But the GT2 has 458 horsepower. That's bullshit.
Yeah.
Kind of, I think, the same thing here. 394 horsepower, 414 horsepower.
It's close enough where
you do the math.
You do the difference. Yeah.
Are we going to have two engines that are basically 20 horsepower apart and you're going to be totally different engines? Probably not.
Yeah.
So where I was going with this is, so essentially you're going to get 90% of a GT car if you end up getting one of these cars for $90,000 essentially.
Yeah, and be able to get one.
And you can exactly, great point. And you're probably not going to have a difficult time PTSing one since everyone PTSs the world.
Yeah, they do.
So, but where I wanted to go and I wanted to ask you this, and ask the listeners to ask themselves this, do you love this or hate this?
I think it's a good offering. I'm glad they're not really detuning it from, I guess they can make it a lot worse or making force you to get the GT4.
Mm-hmm. I love this.
Not. Yeah, I think it's a good
I love this because what this is basically saying, I think this is a bone thrown to all of the people that couldn't get a Spider allocation, that couldn't get a GT4 allocation. They're saying, look, you can get a GT car long as you're not hung up on a GT name.
Yeah.
We can put you in a GTS. and it's pretty much going to do the same thing. Oh, by the way, it's actually going to be more comfortable because
that's the bigger thing too.
It's not going to be as nasty raw as the other car. You're going to probably get better seating as far as like lumbar support, all that good stuff. So I actually love this.
Yeah,
I love this move.
I think it's a good call. I mean, it's going to be their bread and butter. They wouldn't be making a GTS version if you know.
Well, you think about business dollars, right? So it would be bad business for them to make a GT4 with a 4-liter and maybe not detune it. Maybe it's not even detuned. Maybe that's just a fudged number because we know Porsche lowballs their numbers all the time with stuff. Yeah. This could be the exact same motor. I mean, for all the people who love to get brand new stuff and then put them on a dyno right away, they can tell us how this is going to go when they start coming out. If this puts up the same kind of numberage as a GT4, you know, there's probably just a handful of things that make this car different. It's probably got the same motor, but maybe the flywheel is a little bit different. So the GT car spins up faster because it's a lighter flight wheel. And this one maybe has a heavier flywheel.
Drive pulleys.
Exactly. Just a little bit of stuff. Little bit of stuff. So if you buy one of these, you could probably get it pretty close.
Yeah, and that's probably really, like you said, it is a consolation prize for those that can't get those cars, and that's exactly how they're making it out to be.
And think about that price point.
Yeah.
Like, think about what you're getting for 90 grand. Now, granted, that's the base. You're probably going to want to option up, but if you really wanted to just go like basement spec and get one of these because you just want the motor, I mean, you could get into a Cayman GTS if you don't, you know, fixed roof, if you don't want to do the convertible. 4-liter engine, manual, that's producing 400 horsepower. I mean, I'm sure the restricted exhaust, you pull all that crap off the car, you're easily in GT car territory as far as that GT4. Okay?
And newer cars, so the warranty's there, all that type of thing.
Tell me I'm wrong. Catch me outside, right? Like, this is a total consolation prize for all of those people that couldn't get one of those other cars.
Because they know, maybe Porsche knows that they're going to sell out of all the GT4s and all the Spiders.
Now, do you think, because you and I think a lot alike on certain things, and we know how the power and the weight the GT car carries as far as the Porsche world is concerned, and even outside of the Porsche world, if you don't know shit about Porsche, you hear GT car, you've probably at this point if you're a car person, have heard of a GT3 or some type of form of like, so you hear that.
With a race car, essentially.
Exactly. So you hear that. So because it has that stereotype and carries that dollar figure and that provenance, is there enough people out there that don't care about those kind of things and trying to keep up with the Joneses where this car is going to be successful?
I still have a fun level? Yeah, I think so.
I think so too.
I think it's going to have no reason to because, I mean...
I would encourage anyone who's listening, who's shopping, to actually buy this and save yourself 30 grand.
And the wait list and all that stuff.
Save yourself 30 grand. PTS one of these. Probably actually be more rare.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, you think that just in GTS in general, you don't see a lot of GTS anything.
Yeah. So this car's coming with a manual 6-speed and also going to be optioned up with
the
7-speed PDK. And that actual PDK is derived directly from the GT category. So basically the GT Club Sport car. So this is going to have the Club Sport transmission essentially. Probably not hard shifting as that, but it's the core of it's going to be there.
Well, that would lead me to believe that it might actually be the same motor if they're gonna take the time to put the same transmission in or something really close to it. Then I don't know how it would be a different motor, how it's gonna made up so easily or be such an easy thing to do.
Do you think any of those cars coming out impacts the Spider or the GT4? And obviously not immediately.
I mean, no, I think they're already sold.
No, I know that. I'm not talking about immediately. I'm talking about residual secondhand value when these start hitting the street in 2021. If I own a GT4 that's maybe being delivered in 2020 or a Spider, does that bring like a normal depreciation on that car instead of it upticking? You know what I'm saying, right? Like most GT cars are like, okay, hey, I have the new Spider and I drove it for a year and I'm charging you a $20,000 premium even though I put miles on it.
I still think it's still the same. I think it's flat because it's still a Spider, which is rare. It's still a GT car, which is rare. It doesn't. I think just because of those.
So cases, you think it has no bearing on that?
No.
I disagree with that. I think I don't think it's going to make them plummet. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to suggest that by any means. But what I am saying is I think it's going to make somebody who is shopping in that arena, for example, let's just say you were shopping in that area.
Yep.
And let's fast forward to 2023. You're sitting there at 2023. So the GTS is out. It's a couple years old. Some people have used the car. Maybe let's call it 10 to 20,000 mile range. So you're buying one secondhand. So maybe say they bought one at 95. Maybe the car's now like, I don't know, let's call it 80.
Yeah.
Now, somebody with a Spider and all that kind of stuff, what they paid for it, and they drove it for a year or two, and they put the mileage on it. Do I think that it's going to carry the same weight what they paid for it? I think there's actually going to be depreciation in that car. Do I think it's going to be massive? No. I do agree with you in the sense that they are special enough. But I also think that there's going to be stuff that are close enough, and I think buyers are going to start using their brains instead of their hearts behind stuff and say, you know what? I'm not going to pay a $40,000, $50,000 Delta just because that's a GT car, because this essentially is a GT car just because it doesn't say it's a GT car. I think it's going to force those cars to be more reasonably priced.
Yeah, I mean, if you have the self-awareness that you're not taking it on track and you're not doing those things where that GT car really accelerates itself or really shows itself that this is why I'm here.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
And also, let's play the X factor with these GTSs. They're not as special, granted, I will back that up, as the Spider or the GT4. So we know that what that means, right? So this car is more of a driver-focused car because people will drive them. That's what I mean. I don't mean like the car themselves, because we all know people wipe the GT cars down with a diaper, they save them in the place, and they never drive them. But this car, this 4-liter, maybe this is a spec you see a lot enthusiasts driving. Maybe this is the one you see them beating up, when they go to the Dragon or they go to the track, because this car is not as special with limited numbers, but it packs the punch as a GT car, and people are using it like they should use it and having fun with it.
Yeah, it may be that car. That makes sense.
Yeah. So then the T is going to come back as well.
Yeah. Well, that's a. How close is that going to be to the GTS?
I don't think it will be, because we all know the GTS blends comfort and performance. Yeah. So the Cayman is supposed to be the affordable man's spec, if you will.
Yeah.
I just like that they're coming back with that car.
I think it did well. I mean, even though I don't think they sold it in super high numbers, I still think they did well.
Well, I think the unique part about the Cayman T coming back too is the Cayman T it's currently out is boosted. It's turbocharged. This one's going to be naturally aspirated when it comes back, because the
4-liter.
No, but Porsche is going back to that. But here's the difference: the options there. You can get the Cayman with the turbo, or you can get it naturally aspirated.
Ooh.
So, and they're doing that in the Boxster as well, because they're bringing that back because there was an outcry for it, which makes sense.
Yeah.
So, but we talked about in prior podcasts, if you haven't listened, rewind and hit one of those after you're done with this. There is a strict emissions law coming in the future. So the
bigger liters,
from reading all of this stuff and all of the stuff Porsche's coming out with back to NA and all this stuff, I really think this is a secret last hurrah with a lot of naturally aspirated engines with small displacement and high horsepower, because we talked about they're not going to be allowed to do that here soon.
Yeah.
Because it's a whole horsepower per displacement cylinder type. It's complicated, but basically Porsche's engines are not going to qualify because they're so small, but they produce a lot of power. So I think in this next probably 3 to 4 years, we're going to see a golden era, if you will, air quotes, around Porsche with naturally aspirated engines. And then I think after that, there's going to be a huge drop off the cliff, because I think either everything's going to go hybrid or turbo after that.
So you're saying that you wouldn't order yours with a turbo? Would you just go NA?
No, I would get NA as long as you can, because everything is either going to be turboed, or we talked about before, or bigger displacement even. So it's gonna be really wonky. And I don't really see Porsche putting a larger displacement engine in any of these cars. So I think if anything, what they're going to do is how they're going to supplement is they're going to put a hybrid engine in them, like we talked about.
That's what I agree.
I think it's going to probably be like a 2.5 liter flat six producing 300 horsepower, but the electric engine's making 180 horsepower, something to that effect. I'm just making stuff up out of the air to compensate for it. something to that effect. I think that's what's going to happen. That's what we're looking at in the next 5 years. That's what I think.
Well, 5-liter Cayman.
Yeah, oh God. Yeah. Go 5.0 Fox Bottom Mustang, bro. 180 horsepower, 5 liters of pony.
You live in the late 70s.
Yeah. And while we're on this, he says, do you like all of the models basically getting equal trim level lines? Meaning, like we talked about, even the Cayman and Panamera and 911, like they're all trying to balance. They've seen, like, if there is a Turbo S, there's a Turbo S in every car that they make. And then if there's a T, then there's a T in every line that they make. Do you think that's more balanced?
It helps the customer when that comes to shopping.
Yeah, it's more homogenous, isn't it? I think
probably
so.
The sales guy on the other side too. Well, we have a T in that too, or we have a GTS in that too, and that type of thing.
Well, I think a lot of this stuff is, some of it's just trim stuff anyways.
Yeah.
So, or bolt-on stuff. Like the core of what a lot of these are similar. So I think it's easy for Porsche. It's just basically pick your own flavor.
Do you think they could get rid of it? Like if they wanted to strip down the lines and just do a base, a GTS, and then a GT car?
I think that would be more who of them if they just simplified it even more. Just almost kind of like it was back in the day, where it's like, look,
an I-11,
you don't need all of this.
Ours.
But there's a reason why they do it though, because they do the research, and they wouldn't offer it if they didn't sell it.
That's true.
So that what they do all the data behind it, and if somebody wants to spec up something and it's a base Cayman, but now it turns into a GTS because somebody's willing to pay another $30,000 or $40,000. See, what we don't talk about enough, I think, and we should touch on it. Porsche does a good job of protecting each trim line, meaning like, I want those seats in this car. Oh, you do? Well, guess what? They are not offered in the Cayman S. If you want those seats, you must buy the GTS package, which is a $30,000 upgrade, for example. I'm just using that number as a makeup. So they lock you out on stuff, which from a manufacturer is pretty smart, because now you either going to deal with your S, or you're going to step up and buy the trim level that I just suggested because you want that stuff that comes with it.
Yeah.
And some people can look at that, playing devil's advocate, as kind of a shyster move, or it's them protecting themselves as a brand. I mean,
making that line be itself versus trying to pick apart it and then make your own. Yeah, exactly.
Almost kind of like, well, you want this and you want that. Well, you can't. It's like, oh, I want to go order a base. Let's say I order a base 911, but I want houndstooth interior from the factory. That's not even an option. Man, you can't do it.
It's not as a la carte.
Exactly. You can't do that. Now, with me saying that, do you think that should be an option, though? If I bought a base car and I don't want any other shit, it comes with it, but I want to change my seats out and I want to spec it out, or do you think that's too bespoke and that's too much work for that company to do that?
It probably is too much work. That would be my first thought on an assembly line, because now it's going to be.
Well, yeah, of course, it's too much work. But do you think from a consumer standpoint,
it is allowed to a point?
Do you think from a consumer standpoint, do you think it should be a la carte if you want it to be? Everything, even if you're ordering a base trim and you just want to upgrade your seats and your steering wheel or whatever, or just your steering wheel.
Yeah, almost like an exclusive option, but not.
Yeah.
But then it would be exclusive.
But if you're like willing to pay for it, what's the difference, right?
Yeah. I wonder if dealerships actually wheel and deal there.
Well, I think that's where the aftermarket comes in.
Yeah.
I think maybe the dealership can do it. And we know this. Even some of our local dealerships, they allocate out service and they third party certain things for certain cars. Even, for example, we know our good friend Harris in Sawgrass up in Jacksonville. He owns a company that works exclusively with all of the dealerships in town to either black out trim or add stuff to the cars that when they come in from the factory, it's not even an option. So if you want powder coated wheels on whatever, your Land Rover or your Mercedes or whatever, and that wasn't even an option from the factory, or you bought it on the lot and it was already there and it had silver wheels on it, his company does that.
Yeah.
So Porsche is doing that too, meaning not big Porsche, but Porsche dealerships. They find a local place and a local source to do things like that. And even in town here in Tampa, there's places who do stuff for Porsche of Tampa and other places who want to do these little touches to the car. I mean,
that's probably not a big enough game for Porsche to be in, and that's what they've assessed.
It's probably more of a hang up more than anything for them to offer that as opposed to just doing it or whatever. There's like, it's going to delay the delivery of the car for them because then they got to pull it out of line. They got to do this. They got to do that.
Yeah, they're worried about like seconds on a factory line. Like they know like body to chassis stuff is like somebody like 66 seconds or some crazy number when everything goes together. Well,
that's how precise everything's gotten.
Yeah,
because time is money, and if they're not getting it done, they're not getting it done.
I think it'd be cool if they did offer. I mean, if exclusive, I don't know if exclusive option is offered to everyone or at a certain level of car or.
I don't think it's offered on every car because I think again it goes back to that protecting of the trim lines where I think there's still a lockout. Like even if you're like, now there are certain levels. I think when you buy a certain trim level, you do that unlocks pretty much Pandora's box for you. Yeah. For example, if you bought a Carrera S brand new, but you're saying you want a deviated stitching and then you want pinstripes in your seat and you want this and you want that, they're probably willing to do it, but then they just are upfront with you and say, hey, this is how long it's going to take. Yeah, exactly. Because we've talked to people about that. Like they're like, oh, I waited for the car for a year because I wanted a beechwood interior, like dash. Like literally, okay, well, we spent a couple months looking for the beechwood. Yeah. It's like, okay, great. Well, I'm not in a hurry to buy it, and, they get it painted, basically Irish green, not a standard color, and they do all this other stuff. You can go really over the top, I know, with a lot of these models. I've seen some of them. I mean, I think there was a Porsche in that exact color I was talking about, and I'm joking. I wasn't joking about the Beechwood. They had Beechwood put in their car, and it was in GT3 Touring, so it was a really special car. The car was like CCX'd, essentially. It was like everything in it was bespoke, everything. Wood this, wood that, basically houndstooth interior, specialized color, like
that's it's crazy.
Gold-plated this, da-da-da-da-da. It's trying to pay homage to the original Irish green from back in the day. But nevertheless, I think it's, like circling back to close that topic, I think it's really great that they're offering that. I think it's a great bone that they're throwing to the enthusiast sense. Cayman paying homage and honor to all the people that are available to buy that car.
It's cool that they're making a GTS line that's worthy of the GTS badge and not kind of like not a weakened GT car, but it's on par. Exactly.
I totally agree with that because when it came back, if you're not deep enough into Porsche, GTS was a very, very special signification.
Yeah.
I mean, it was designated to their race cars. And then when they came back and just started throwing it around on 911s and this, and it was basically like, oh, well, it's a good trim package and you got the most performance out of it. It's like the X50, it's all this, and it's like, yeah, but that's not really what a GTS is.
Yeah.
So it's kind of good that they're kind of maybe leaking back to that. It would be interesting to see once the GT3 comes out from the 911 line.
How close the GTS is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To see how close exactly. Is it
well,
gonna,
it won't be.
Is it going to?
It shouldn't be because it's going to be turbocharged.
Exactly. But what if it's not? Because
well,
now they're doing
two different motors.
Yeah. Now it's like, hey, can I buy a GTS in a 911 and get really close to a GT3?
Yeah.
I mean, if they're following this model, why wouldn't that not be an option? And make it a manual as well? Ooh.
Yeah, I mean...
Now we're talking.
And now that the liter size or liter difference makes sense with having a liter size and the turbo, because what they're going to do is just eventually just phase that turbo out to the NA motor until they do NA hybrid like you were talking about. It makes sense.
So let's transition. All right. So staying on the topic of 718 range, for 2021, Porsche has updated standard equipment in the car. I didn't know this, but me being, because I'm not a 718 shopper, not saying that in a negative light, but I didn't know this. All these things I'm about to read to you, I would have thought these would have been no charge options anyways in the car. However, starting 2021, they are going to be standard options. But nevertheless, I guess they're throwing more into their 718 range, so it is good to be a 718 Boxster or Cayman fan right at the moment, because it's starting to get, I guess, some much needed attention, I guess, from Porsche. So we have automatic 2-zone climate control. Are you kidding me? That's becoming standard? That should have been standard.
Yeah. Well, I mean, all this seems like it's an option, but yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, the fact that you need to option that up,
Yeah,
heated seats. What?
Yeah.
I mean,
it's Porsche. Should be
standard.
Yeah.
I mean, these are expensive cars. Let's not. I mean, the cheapest line in their sports car range is still going to cost you 60 plus out the door. Auto dimming mirrors, okay. And then Apple CarPlay.
Yeah, that seems like a win. That seems like that should.
Yeah, but they're way behind with that. The fact that they made a boast when they did finally offer, it's like, oh, welcome to the party. Every other manufacturer in Toyota, like
in 2015, 2016.
Yeah, but I mean, like, I think Honda and places were offering that way before that.
Yeah.
It wasn't that difficult to put Apple CarPlay in a car. Their tech was so far behind with that. Anyways, okay, PDLS Porsche Dynamic Light System is going to be standard. Basically, that's like headlight things, like where they look dynamic, like the racing look. And I thought, like going back,
do those move or no? They're not. They're just. It's just the different.
Yeah, it's like the X look or whatever.
Oh, I get what you're saying. Yeah.
And then circling back to what I said earlier, I would have thought all of that stuff none of that stuff I just read to you makes you fall out of your seat. Like saying like, oh, this is all standard stuff. And the fact that Porsche came out and said that that's coming out in 2021. Now I know that, and there's probably people listening to this that don't want to hear this, but it is the truth. This 718 is not their flagship line.
Yeah, that's true.
It's their introductory into Porsche sports cars. So if you didn't know that, that's your stepping stone to get to the flagship.
To get to do a 911.
Yeah.
Yep.
So the 718's sole purpose is to get you into the Porsche brand at a more affordable rate. Now, with that being said, I still think all that shit should have been standard equipment prior to 2021. Yeah. I mean, it's not even standard equipment for 2020. We're talking next year still.
That's crazy.
I think that's a little...
It's weird, too, because I know the Cayennes and everything else have Apple CarPlay and other stuff in them.
And maybe that was Porsche's way prior to 2021 to really scrape the barrel to try to make these as cheap as possible for them to produce. I don't know. It was a gee whiz statement. I don't want to spend too much time on it. I was just kind of shocked by that they made a statement of those things are going to be standard. And I looked back because, again, like I'm not a shopper for those. And I was like, those things should have been standard. Why are you announcing that they are standard now? Because that's actually saying that you had a huge pitfall of not making that stuff standard and charging people up for that stuff.
A lot, too. I mean, we know how much those technology packs go for.
Yeah, ridiculous. That you're going to charge me up for Apple CarPlay, bro? Come on. That should be standard.
Even though it's probably just a software thing.
It is. Yeah. It is. Come on. Anyways, so talking about add-on equipment, that segues us into that. As you know, and if you guys have ever played with the Porsche Builder app or gone on and built a 911 or 718 or whatever that your GT car, you know it can get out of hand really, really fast if you start adding all the cool stuff to the car, right? Talking like carbon buckets, deviated stitching, cool whatever, upgraded seat belts, different color, all this other stuff. Do you feel, and I'm speaking specifically more GT car, because we talked about like base stuff is just going to be standard in the past topic. But I'm saying if I'm going to walk in, let's just say MSRP is $160,000 on a brand new GT3. Do you think it's kind of shady for them, if I want carbon buckets, to be charged another $20,000 to put carbon buckets in it?
But should you not premium carbon buckets?
Should you not be giving me them at $160 though? Is what I'm saying. Like, yeah. So what I'm saying is, okay, you can get a base GT3, right, at $160. Let's just call it $160 for argument's sake. I know we might not be dead on, but let's just call it that so we don't have to fight over a number and like get in the weeds over this. However, at $160, let's be fair, $160 is a lot of money, right?
Yep.
So if your dream is a GT car and you buy it brand new and you get an allocation and you want it to be the coolest GT3 you can to have, PTS, all this other stuff, and so now you're being upcharged. Should it not just be $160 you come in, and since it's their flagship of the 911, the
select,
best,
like, okay,
it's like I want that color and I want this, and it's $160 still. Should it not be that? Should you not just get all the coolest? Why would you not want the GT car just to have all the coolest shit all the time from the factory is what I'm saying.
But they know.
Like, why would I want to say, I'm going to offer this car with kind of the stripper model and you want to make it even cooler, I'm going to sell you more stuff.
Because that's exactly how it'll work. Because you have that.
No, I know they make more money on it, but I'm saying as from a consumer standpoint, don't you think that's kind of fucked up?
I don't know. I mean, yeah, I guess if you want to spend your 160 is not going as far as you think it would to get all that done, but then it takes extra effort to get all that stuff though. Mm-hmm. As far as the engineering behind the seats, the carbon fiber is like the. That's
like going to buy like an $80 steak and not getting a knife and a fork and being like, oh, you want a knife and a fork too? $10,000. You're like, what the fuck, dude? Are you serious right now?
Yeah, I guess that's true. Yeah, I mean, I don't know how much it would devalue. I mean, do you think it devalues them at that point?
I don't think so, man. Like, because I think they can still make them a lot of individualities with them. I actually think it would make them stronger if that way, because then there are people that are buying these stripper models, and then you see one, and then you see it used or secondhand, and then you see it, and you're like, what the hell, dude? Like, this car has nothing.
Yeah.
It doesn't have anything cool in it, but it's a GT car, but it has the motor. Because the guy who bought it didn't want to spend a dime more. Because they probably wanted that stuff, but they weren't willing to pay an extra $40,000 for all of the juicy stuff that they wanted, and then have to walk out of there at like $200.
Yeah, that's true.
Or $180 or whatever.
So if you could take your 160 and get everything for free, I mean, would you buy one at that point? Would that sell you more?
Well, I can't afford it either way, but I'm just saying.
Would it sell you more on the car though? That's what I'm saying. Would it?
I think from a consumer standpoint, I think it would be a good customer service thing to do.
But there's no other brand doing that either. So there's nobody that's going to be like, well, you know what? We have so much profit in this, and we're just going to take the hit and say, pick any color, pick any seats.
I just feel it's a little bit of fleecing of the consumer, in my personal opinion.
Well,
don't get me wrong. I love GT cars, and I love all the stuff you do. Like, they are taking advantage of a market of people that want to buy cars and they want to be unique. So it costs more money to be even more unique. So there's like layers to this, right? Think about this as stair steps. Okay, you have a GT car. Now you're special. Okay, kind of special. So your base level, like you're building a house. Now you have the foundation. All right, so now you have that. Now are you just going to buy a standard color, or now you're going to get your special color? Okay, now I'm PTSing. Now I'm one step up. Okay, now let's move into the interior. What are we going to do in the interior? Are you going to do special seats? Are you going to do deviated stitching? Are you going to do different kinds of inserts? How are you going to do that? No, one bump up there, one bump up there. So you're taking all these boxes and you're maxing the damn thing out, which is great from them. I get it. Like, I'm worked in business. I understand how business works.
Yeah.
But I'm speaking for the hearts of the consumer. 160 is a lot. Like, how much more do you need from me, bro?
You have a separate facility. You have separate testing. You have separate engineers.
Cost of doing business, bro. Like, why do I need to pay that? You sell cars. Why do you got to hit me at? Why you got to hit me at every level? Why do I have to pay for Apple CarPlay, bro?
It's an option, bro. You want it?
I'm just saying it seems a little like jank in my. It's like in the most basic level. You walk into a restaurant, and I know there's places like this across the world, and this is how they operate too. Hey, you want to go to the bathroom? That costs money. Oh, you want a napkin? That costs money. Oh, you want it because it costs them money. I get that. But there's also an associated cost of doing business. You're in the business of selling cars. If I'm going to step to your place and I'm going to set, like, that's almost coming to like a sandwich shop saying, okay, I'm coming to pay the money for the sandwich. I'm going to do all this stuff and I'm going to have you make the sandwich and I want all that stuff.
So what if
you want extra sauce? That costs money. What are you talking about? Like, the sandwich sucks without the sauce. Why should I have to pay for it? So I'm paying for the sandwich.
So if they gave you like different color options, like where would this stop at? Would you think you needed all the options, or would it be you have more options to choose for color wise, more wheel options, more exhaust options, buckets, or would you like?
I mean, you could really go endless with it as far as where the line would be, because no matter where the line is drawn, people like me are still going to challenge it and say like, well, you should offer everything.
So what if they did offer everything? Would you? But that doesn't incline. Would you still think they would have the same amount of buyers?
Yeah.
Do you think they would have more buyers?
Well, I think they're in a unique situation where they have a product that's very desirable, And it's almost like Rolex. They only release so many of them at a time. So those people are sitting there hungry, waiting for that next thing to come out. And that whole group of people are willing to pay any dollar basically to attain that car. And then they will pay the additional price. So yes, they're in the upper hand. Don't get me wrong. Porsche's the king at that stuff. They're the pros at upcharge. They're the pros at PTS. They're the pros at all that stuff. They're the ones who wrote the book on the stuff. Kudos to them for that. All I'm saying is I'm trying to make a voice for the consumer. I'm saying if I were in there and I was spending $160, I'd pretty much want every color within reason in the color wheel to choose from instead of have to pay up or tell it. Even worse, this is even worse. Now this has spiraled into this because you know this. I spent $160 on a car and I do want to spend money with you, but then you tell me that the paint shop is closed for PTS cars right now.
Yeah.
Are you effing kidding me, bro? I just dropped $160 and you're telling me now I can't even get the color I want?
Yeah. That's true.
We're going to have some furniture's going to be moving around in here. There's going to be a problem.
Yeah.
Because I am not going to be happy with that experience. I'm like, you can pass that allocation to somebody else, champ, because I am not interested. Because you want that, I'm sure anybody at that level, as long as you're not brokering and trying to flip the car. But if you're a first time GT car, or even or not even a first time, if you're a multiple GT car buyer, that should be afforded to all of them. There should never be a situation where, sorry, that we're backed up on PTS cars and your allocation when it's going to be delivered is uneligible to be PTS'd. I think that's a
But then it makes
that's a dick punch.
And then it makes it that more challenging the next time. If you come back and try to get a PTS, when you do.
I don't know, man. I think that more often than not, I think that's going to burn people the wrong way. I mean, it would me. I wouldn't even buy that car at that point. I'd be like, hauling ass. See ya.
Would you try to get a PTS the next time?
There might not even be a next time.
Yeah.
Because of that. Then you just go to secondhand and just have a broker like find you a car. Whatever. Wait a year. Be patient.
Good old Alan Sneed.
Yeah. Just be patient. I know we harped on that topic. I know I'm really passionate about it. I just feel like that's a lot of money. And I feel in the world of us giving away free content, like Porsche's getting paid hand over fist. We don't get paid shit. So why not give you a little bit more as a consumer? I mean, you have all of these people creating content for free for a lot of people out there. I'm not saying they need to give away for free. They're charging you $160,000, which is a lot of money.
Yeah.
Give me more than 5 colors to choose from.
That's warranted.
You know, don't charge me $20,000 for upgraded seats.
Or at least have anything that could be a standard option be a standard option instead of having a metallic color be an extra amount and then having,
I know it's going. It's an unheard cry that I'm making, and I'm not a buyer at that point, so it might be moot. But at the same point, I do think it is a little outlandish to like tell people in that situation, like, well, you know, unfortunately during this time right now, you know, you can't like pick the color you want, like even though it's going to be a special thing for you, and I get it, and that's all that kind of stuff. But you know, you're going to have to get a standard color. It's like, dude, not something you want to hear for somebody who's dropping $160,000, right? You don't want to hear that. If I told you that right now and you walk in here and you're excited to spend $160,000 and spec out your GT car, and I'm like, you basically have these 5 colors to choose from. You're like, that's really funny, but I'm going to go with green, the signal green here. And you're like, yeah, we can't do that.
Well,
you're like, what do you mean you can't do that? And I think that turns a lot of those people off. And maybe sometimes that's how people go outside of Porsche, because then you get in that, you get caught up in that rat race, and you're like, you know what? Screw this noise, man. I don't like the way this is going down. So I get it. I thought it was an interesting debate. Let's take a quick break, and we'll come back with Falken Motorsports getting back in, and then we'll talk about Fahren and then year 2 memberships.
Yep.
All right. Make sure that you check out Soul Performance Products, because they are a sponsor of Pcar Talk. They have a great exhaust. We are running it on the Turbo S. It's handmade. It's made in the U.S. made by Americans, sold to everybody else in the world. So very few products are still made in the U.S., and they make exhaust products for every vehicle that you can think of, not just Porsche. So please check them out. They're a great sponsor of the show. We love their products. A lot of other people that we respect as well is running their products on their car, and they're battle tested, they're race proven. If you're looking for a solid quality American product, definitely check out Soul Performance Exhaust. All right, we're back from break. And let's cover a little bit. Falken Motorsports is going to use, I think, a Porsche 911 MR Cup car.
As they would.
Yeah, at the Nurburgring. Yeah, so it's going to have the Falken livery on it. Very iconic as far as the GT cars. I know we've seen 996 Cup cars from even like 04 or 03 that were running Falken livery on it. How do you feel about their livery? Do you like it?
I do. I guess they got tired of their BMW M6 or whatever they were running.
Yeah. I think it looks really, really good. If you guys haven't seen it, go ahead and take a look on it. Yeah, it looks pretty badass. They've been in racing for a long time, sponsoring cars. Do you think this is interesting, or is it just circumstantial? You know, Porsche factories coming out of racing, and then there's privateered. I guess you could call them privateers. So
customer racing.
Yeah, customer racing. This Falken's a big brand. Obviously, if you don't know who they are, they're a tire manufacturer. They've been in the business for a long, long time as far as making tires. They have a lot of involvement in all types of different types of motorsports. Do you think this is kind of opening more windows, or I don't want to say like because Porsche's pulling out, it's opening doors for people, because that has nothing to do with one or the other, because this is a totally different race. But I guess where I'm going with this is Porsche saying they don't have money to race, but then this team has money to race. See what I'm saying? Like where I'm going with
Somebody
this.
has money. Well, I mean, yeah.
Where I'm saying like other people are saying like their newer cars or newer stuff, like they're still racing. They're going to stand up a car to go race at this race, and they haven't stood up a car before.
But them as a tire manufacturer wouldn't need that though. They're going to need to test and do things.
Yeah. On
track and endurance and everything, and that's what that is.
But I guess where I'm going with that is, do you feel like there's maybe some false sense of? Yeah. Is it, are we blaming it on Rona, and is it really funds, or what's happening here? Or are we just trying to tighten up funds and reallocate funds? Because you and I know plenty of friends that own private businesses, and they're crushing right now.
Yeah.
Right? So.
Not the podcast, but we're getting there.
The podcast is up. It's not bad. Numbers are great.
Actually, yeah, it is.
Yeah, thank you guys for all that. I mean.
Yeah, we doubled almost.
Yeah. Big shout out to Brazil, if they're listening.
Brazil.
They've been a massive uptake. I don't know if they've discovered us recently or what's going on with that, but they're sharing and listening, and big love to them. We love Brazil for that. I think, circling back to this Falken thing, I just wanted to touch on it very, very briefly. I don't want to talk on it too much, but I wonder if it's just weird. Like my brain does something when I read this and I see.
Well, David, I mean,
them standing up a car.
But they sponsored a 997 back in the day. Like it was.
No, I know they're not new to it. I'm just saying, like, okay, we're gonna go race at Nurburgring 24-hour endurance race. They're gonna do the European endurance race challenge stuff, and so they're gonna do all of this stuff with the Porsche, and they're choosing Manti to help them out with that, which is great. But Porsche as a whole racing, they don't want to spend funds to do that. So. I don't know. I'm just confused. I'm conflicted, I guess, by that.
Well, that's true. I mean, maybe somebody weighed the options. I don't know if they are, but they could just be taking the Corona thing super serious, which, I mean, they should be to some extent.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's not a serious thing to take, but, like, I guess, where I'm getting is from a dollars being spent.
They do look at bigger business, but it may cost them more to go racing. Mm-hmm. They got bigger names. Those drivers cost more. They have to do all those things that put them in place and maintain those cars.
Yeah, that's true.
So it may be a different dollar figure, or maybe they're just deciding they want to save their money for the next year and go hard.
I guess maybe I'm still heartbroken about it, and that's why I kind of feel a little like bent about it.
I was going to say Falken's always been in some shape or form in the.
Well, I'm just using them as my crutch. I know they have been, and they've always been involved in racing, and they're in the drift scene, and they support almost every aspect of motorsports. They're in the Baja. They do all types of stuff. There's no secret that they have a huge liking towards motorsports. Yeah. Obviously, they sell tires.
2022 is where it's at.
Yeah, they're doing big things. It's just I don't know. I guess maybe just frustrating when you hear or read the stuff like this when other teams are like, oh, hey, Falken's going to stand up a team, last minute. It's like, oh, hey, where did they scrape funds up from?
Yeah, I watched they actually had their first race of the NLS season this weekend.
Yeah.
We didn't do so well as Porsche people. I think it was like 5th and something. I thought maybe Moritz got first in his GT4. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was okay. But it's just, I agree with you. It's not the same as having Porsche out there.
Yeah.
Doing things. Even though those guys are still like there was I think Matt Campbell was out there. Christensen was out there. I think Astro was out there too.
Yeah.
They were all doing, they all do the endurance series.
Yeah.
Of the Nurburgring.
Yeah, they all do that. You're right.
But Astro went home early. I forgot what happened.
Yeah, it's just kind of strange. Anyways, moving on. Reminder, Faren's coming up.
Oh, Fahren.
Yeah. Fahren, whatever.
Yeah.
Fahren. It's at the end of August. It's our first annual drive that we'll be conducting. We're excited to be putting it on. I know there's a lot of people that are getting out and driving, and even though it's super, super hot.
Yep, like us.
Yeah, like we did today. Luckily, hopefully it'll be a little bit more cooler climate since we'll be in a higher elevation.
Yeah, it should be still
in the mountain range.
really nice.
Yeah, so I mean it'll still be warm because it's summertime. Let's be real, but mornings will be nice probably still in that mountain range. If you want to go on the drive, we would love to have you.
Yeah, spots open.
Definitely go on to pcartalk.com, check that out, see what your options are. Aaron has opened up. It's actually a good time to talk about this.
Oh, yeah.
There's a no money club supporting channel like through the Pcar Talk website to be able to do it. So I'll let you explain that.
So instead of our thought behind this was maybe not everybody wants to be an annual member, and they don't care about the giveaways, but they still want to support us in some way. And a way we thought about doing that is, well, you can just sign up, see the newsletter. You can buy a decal, buy a shirt, buy something.
Yeah, or not.
Or not.
Yeah.
And
just be on the email strain and figure out what's going on and what the big part about that is, I think, for a once a year type of deal is, so to be clear, it's a no cost option just to sign up. Basically, just your contact info is going to go in. But I think the real benefit to people showing their support, obviously you'll go into a list too, but the real support behind that is, like Aaron said, if you don't want to help support us monetarily for whatever reason, you will still at least have the option to that's a wrong term. You will have the option to try to go on one of the drives if you sign up early enough, if you sign up as, a club supporter. Basically, that's what we're calling it, club supporter. Because there's levels of membership that do cost monetary money, but then there's a club supporter, which is free. And that will give you an option to basically buy in to the drive, because the drive isn't free for club members either. They have to pay in too. Yeah. So it's just basically going to open the door for you to see where the drive's going to be at and when it is, and if you can attend. If you don't want to help support us through our travels throughout the whole year, and you enjoy the content, but you still want to kind of just be at a distance, we respect that, and that's fine if that's what you want to do. We just thought another way to try to include some more people, right? Yep. And you're welcome. It's free. So
yeah, it doesn't get any easier. So.
Yeah. So no excuses on that end, right? So obviously, highly encourage you to do the monetary side, because you do get a lot.
That's the difference, and the reason we named it a supporter versus the membership, so it doesn't get muddied.
Yeah.
Into the fact that the annual memberships are there for, you get a decal, or you get a decal shirt, or if you do an RS, you get a badge.
Yeah.
Several decals and a shirt, but all three of those annuals get you in every month on our giveaways, which are fairly good. I don't think we've had a month where it's not been a cool,
and he's being honest.
Cool.
It's actually awesome. Every month I want whatever we're giving away every month. So
for example, Mike wanted to keep what we're giving away this month.
Yeah, it sucks. Like everything that comes through our hands, like we're basically just the holding facility to give you guys the cool shit, basically. So, and we love giving it to you. I'm not whining. I'm just saying the stuff's so damn cool. I want it. Yeah. But we're passing it along to you guys because we appreciate you stepping up to the plate and becoming a full-on member. Speaking of full-on members, year 2 membership is rolling over to some of those, year one members that are basically, they're starting to renew their second year.
You're seeing emails, or you should be seeing. If you haven't checked your email, might want to check.
Yeah, check your spam, junk, whatever. And the nice thing about that too is there's an additional shirt that's coming out.
Yep, new shirt
for year two, new decal for year two too, to signify that you have 2 years of membership. So moving forward, it's going to continue to change each year. So it's going to signify your longevity. So if you're still on the fence and you're wondering, oh, maybe I should still wait, each year it passes you by. Whenever you sign up, that's your first year. So you're going to still have to earn your stripes as you move on. And the people that signed up, that were supported us from the very beginning, we really appreciate it, because now this summer they're starting to get the year two stuff, and they're going to
some Georgia boys already getting their stuff.
They're going to be flexing on everybody else that's baby members. Basically, this is going to be, you know, the seniors, and then we have the freshmen. Basically, that's how this is going to continue to work. We'll have our senior members each year as they roll over. So if you're still waiting and you want to get the year two stuff, well, you better sign up soon so you can go ahead and run through your 12 months, a calendar year, and then get to your year two stuff, because the year two shirt's awesome.
Yeah. Decal's cool.
Great. Yeah. The decal's cool. The number 2 meatball on it, the guards red shirt.
That's simple. It's simple, but I think it's
simple,
effective.
But it's very bold and like, you know, looks really classy and awesome. And then also the decal that goes with it, the number 2 meatball that goes with it, along with the other standard stuff we're giving you. So, telling you this because you need to hear it, because we don't say it enough.
Yeah.
And we're just kind of explaining it, how the ins and outs of it go, because we still meet people to this day, and I don't know if it's because it's in one ear or out the other, or they just don't care and they're lying to our face, but who knows? Either way, they're like, oh, I didn't know you guys had a membership. Yeah, not only do we have a membership, there's people clicking over to year 2 now.
Yeah, that's true.
So get your shit together, guys.
And year 2s. I'm excited.
But yeah, we do appreciate all the members that we do currently have worldwide. We love you guys so much. We couldn't do what we're doing currently without you, because you guys are the morale boost that we need to keep us going and keep us uplifted and pumping in fresh ideas for us. So we love your feedback. We love your contact, reaching out to us. We are truly honored to have you guys on board, and we're going to keep making every year better. And trust me, hopefully we'll grow this thing into a really big thing someday, right?
Yeah. Oh, one thing on anybody that's ordered the Turbo hats, they're being made, but our manufacturers kind of slowed down. Yeah,
due to Rona, we have some stuff. So don't worry, guys.
I've had a couple emails.
Yeah,
Nobody's been super crazy.
We're still waiting on certain product to come in. Manufacturing has slowed down because they have such a backlog of stuff that has been ordered. They're trying to pump all that stuff out before they start taking new orders. So they will be coming to you guys. So no worries on that stuff. You're not going to get bamboozled on that. So
no bamboozle.
Yeah.
And if you didn't get something, and you should have gotten something, I'm pretty good about mailing everything. Yeah. So I found out somebody didn't get decal or something.
Yeah.
They didn't, it's been 12 months, and they're like, yes, so I didn't get anything. I'm like, well,
say something, bro.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah, we're pretty good at everything, but every once in a while something does slip. So you have our contact information. You know, obviously email us at pcartalk.com. Yep. And if you're a member, you know, obviously we'll look you up in the database and see what's going on. But I don't have anything else. Do you have anything for them?
No, we talked about all the cool stuff.
Okay. You guys stay safe out there. Thank you guys so much for joining us on this episode, and we will see you on the next one.
See you.
Bye.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Pcar Talk. Connect with us on Instagram at Pcar Talk or online at pcartalk.com.